Hey y'all, hey, welcome back to Truth, Trust, and Trajectory with your girl Shakim B. Today on this episode, we're going to be talking about a topic that is close to the hearts of many people, and that is how to protect your energy in a co-parenting dynamic. Co-parenting can be one of the most rewarding yet challenging journeys, especially when emotions run high, boundaries blur, and the dynamics of parenting feel overwhelming. Whether you're navigating amicable cooperation or a more strained relationship, it's easy to feel drained, frustrated, or even resentful. But here's the good news, it doesn't have to be this way. In this episode, we're going to be exploring practical strategies to help you safeguard your emotions, set healthy boundaries, and create a co parenting dynamic that works for you, your children, and your peace of mind. Let's get started on the path to thriving, not just surviving, and your co parenting journey. All right, guys. So, as normal, you already know we got to clear the energy, clean the energy up in here before we start and gel a little bit. And then my space around here and the throat chakra because I want to make sure that the message is delivered the way it needs to be delivered. Alrighty. And I'm going to clear out the energy. So you guys are going to hear three loud sounds. And we can begin. So I wanted to start off with this because as a mother of seven children, eight really, um, and having to be a part of a co-parenting dynamic, it's not always easy. I feel like often there are issues that come up, parental issues, that make it a little bit more difficult to communicate. One of the things that I've just most recently realized is that because I still have children that are under the age of 18, all of them have phones, but it is necessary to be able to communicate with their father in order to arrange traveling for the children because we live um, one city apart from each other. So I wanted to just open up this with the emotional toll of co-parenting. So co-parenting for me sometimes can be very draining, especially when there's conflict or unresolved emotions. For me, it's not really yeah, it has been like unresolved emotions, not so much as far as like the reason why we're not together, but just like continuous patterns of behavior that I notice that are really irritating and frustrating to my soul. Mainly because I feel like for me, there's a lot of projecting that takes place, that's really completely unnecessary. Like, one example I will give you guys is the most recent argument or disagreement that we had was just, I think it was like at the beginning of this week. So my 10-year-old asked me for locks last year. She wanted me to put her hair into locks. And this would have been the second time that I actually did that style for her. So naturally, I was very apprehensive to do it because the first time, what ended up happening was because her father's mother does not like the way that locks look. She was making comments to my then 7-year old that made her feel insecure and like they were ugly. Her father then followed up with the same tactics. And before I knew it, she was really upset and wanting to take her hair out. And I asked her why, so she basically was like, because they're ugly. And I'm like, well, who's telling you that? And she's like, oh, people are going to laugh at me and make fun of me at school. And I'm like, who's putting this into your head? And so basically, we figured out who the culprit was behind that. And I ended up giving in and taking her hair out at her father's request because he's so very invested in their looks for whatever reason. But more recently, she had asked me to braid her hair for Valentine's Day, and I'm like, listen, sweetheart, I'm not combing your locks out. I can definitely give you a style that'll be. I can put your locks into braids, but I'm not going to comb them out. And I feel like I started her locks sometime in July, or what comes after July? September? August. I started her locks in August, and it took me a bit of time because I did diamond parts for her. I started them in two-strand twists because I wanted to make sure that she really wanted those. Now she begged and pleaded me to put them in. So I started them with a two-strand twist, and I said, "Listen," I said, "I'm not going to retwist your hair for a while." So I think it was like a month or two after I put the two-strand twists in. And I said, "At least then, by the time I get ready to retwist it, you can let me know if you still want me to proceed. If you don't, I can take them out, no problem." So she's like, "No, I'm not going to change my mind. I want them, da da da, this, that, and a third." So, I did the first retwist sometime in what, October. And then, she's been getting retwists every month. Now, mind you, she's had them throughout the summer. Well, up until from when I put them in. And she was very, very, very excited to have them. She loved them. I did the retwist. She was really rocking with it. And just this week, she comes up to me with that. And I'm like, I don't even know where this is coming from. But nevertheless, like, your hair has already started to lock. And I told you this before I put them in. I gave you time to change your mind. And, not only that, there were months, it was months of me retwisting her hair and styling it to make sure that it was, satisfactory to her father's liking, and also that she liked, she would be happy with it, what she was. And so her changing her mind out of nowhere was just really concerning and confusing to me. So I let her know, I said, "Listen, I'm not combing them out, not gonna do that." So I guess she got upset and went back to her father, who texted me and basically let me know, like, "Hey, I'm hearing that you're telling her you're not going to take them out, and I'm confused as to why that is." So naturally, I'm like, I don't even understand why you would be confused. Where's your confusing what is confusing about the fact that I'm telling you that I'm not taking them out, right? So that basically turned into a whole argument, disagree, not even an argument, because really he was arguing with himself, but it turned into, I guess, a disliking of me, because I decided that I was not going to comb them out. He said that he would pay someone to take them out, and so naturally I said, if that's what's going to make you happy, feel free, to do that. At the end of the day, for me as a mother, and just on my whole my spiritual journey, I've learned that there's one of two things. The first thing is being adamant, and protecting boundaries, right? So that is not something that I was willing to do. I was not willing to go and undo all of the hard work that I had been putting in for months, because she had a change of heart in the moment. And you call me mean, call me a bad mom, all you want. Um, the bottom line is that was a commitment that, she was very adamant on. And so that's what I was trying to explain to him. And, regardless of what, it almost came across as if he wasn't really receptive to what I was trying to explain to him. It was just more or less, "Oh, you're terrible, you're a bad mom, and you don't have to deal with her, I do." And I'm just like, that was your choice. You chose everything, the whole situation and how we are now, it was all by his choice. Like, these are choices that you've made. And so now the consequences are, you're gonna have to. And at the end of the day, I feel like giving in to her just because, whether it was him or his mother that was putting in her mind that, the locks were ugly and this, that, and third, because the switch from one week to the next was completely a 180. So I was very, very, and I still am confused as to how one week she absolutely loved her hair, and then the next week it was like, did something happen? Did someone say something to you? So it's just that. So according to a study by the Journal of Family Psychology, high conflict co-parenting can lead to increased stress, anxiety, and even depression in both parents and children. And unfortunately, I feel like there are so many unhealed people that are trapped in codependent, or not codependent, co-parenting dynamics. Um, for one, if they're not highly self-aware as to, properly managing their own emotion, and setting healthy boundaries for themselves, then naturally that's going to spill over into onto the other parent. That is for one. For two, the children can definitely pick up on this, so they can sense when there's high tension. So this also puts a responsibility or a perception of responsibility on the children. And for me, for my own personal situation, what I found is that even my youngest, my 8-year old, she's very torn in between houses. Like she feels like she has to pledge her allegiance to either one parent or the other, and I can only imagine the level of stress that that puts on her when she's over there, and it from what I'm hearing and seeing, that it seems like maybe they are trying to poison her against me, and then she comes over here and she sees something completely different than what they're telling her, or she's experiencing me from a different side than what they're telling her. And so it kind of it puts a lot of unnecessary stress and trauma on kids that really doesn't even need to be there. So, I want to talk about setting boundaries to protect your energy in dynamics such as this. So, it's really important to express clear boundaries in communication, decision making, and personal time. What I have found for myself is, because I guess I'm not the primary parent anymore, um, I'm just the weekend parent. It's often very easily perceived that my time really doesn't matter. And one thing about my situation is I have expressed and extended on multiple occasions for him to bring the kids over. Like when he works during the week, I'm like, hey, like drop them off. I want my kids, like send them over here. But he doesn't do that. What he would rather do instead is bring them to his mother, because it's more convenient to him to just drop them off to his mom, because they live on the opposite side of town, than bring them, to the next town over, which is about a 15-20 minute drive. So there becomes a sense of conflict in that way. And so instead of, maybe him looking at it like, what, I could do what makes sense as opposed to what is convenient, what I find is, he takes on the burden of things and responsibility, and then ends up resenting me, and then, slanders me as a byproduct of him not making responsible choices or decisions that are going to benefit the children. So instead of doing things that are only benefiting him and his time, do what makes sense for all of us. So, with those boundaries and set in mind, one of the things that I experienced, and this was probably like a couple of months ago when I first started my podcast, I had a whole lineup of guests that I was going to be interviewing, and usually he drops them off on Friday. We were doing Friday. We were doing Friday at one point, and then it went from Friday to Saturday, and then obviously when something comes up, we were doing great at communicating whatever was going on. Well, this one particular weekend, he ends up, instead of bringing my kids over here, he ends up dropping them off to his mom's house. And I was on the phone with my daughter, and I was like, why are you at grandma's house? You're supposed to be over here. It's Saturday. And she was like, yeah, dad said that you probably weren't home, or you probably didn't want us over there. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? So, I ended up reaching out to him, and I'm like, hey, like, what's up? Like, why did you bring them to your mom's, and they're supposed to be here today? And he's like, oh, well, I had to go to work. I didn't have time, this, that, and a third. Mind you, time management is definitely a thing. So if you know that you have to go to work at this time, why not call me and say, hey, I got to drop him off a little earlier? No problem. So instead, he's like, yeah, my mom will drop him off later. Well, guess who never dropped my kids off? So the next day, he calls me and he's like, yeah, I'm about to be on my way. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, we didn't even, first of all, I'm like, I literally have back-to-back bookings. So that's not okay. Like, you can't just do it on your time because that's what you want to do. Like, you're failing to communicate properly And now you're just like, okay, well, since I'm the primary parent, I decide when you get to see them and when you don't. And that's just really how it is coming across, right? So that was one time. And then, even like picking up and dropping off times, like I've had him, multiple times like come at like 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I'm like, hey, like, listen, I'm usually in a bed by 9:30, so, can you try to be here around that time or just don't come, And I know that seems harsh, but it's just like, you're basically trying to impede and step over my schedule, which took me a really long time to organize and get myself on track. So for you to basically just, I don't know, like, dismiss that, for me, it's not okay. So I feel like it is very important to be able to set clear boundaries and, express when your personal time is being impeded upon, regardless of what the other person thinks or how they feel about the situation. That is literally a simple conversation that could be had, to clear up anything. So a tip that you can use, is a co-parenting app. It's called Our Family Wizard. So what this helps with is minimizing direct contact and keeping interactions focused on the children. Um, and then also there's a survey by co-parenter, that found that 92% of co-parents reported reduced conflict after using the co-parenting app. Now, this is something that I have not yet used, but I definitely, if I had a logical counterpart that was, willing to use that with me, I definitely would, rather do that because it's gotten to the point where I don't even want to have like direct contact with him because it seems like there's some sort of like manipulative gaslighting tactic, that it's very unsettling. So I want to also talk about prioritizing self-care in the midst of chaos. So I just want to extend to you guys at home that self-care is not selfish. It's essential for being the best parent that you can be. And it really took me a very long time to, first of all, comprehend this, then to grasp it and to put it into play. I think that in the environment that I was in when we were actually together, one of the things that his mother used to constantly say to me is, "Oh, you're a mom. You don't get a break. You chose to have these kids. You don't get a break." And I'm just like, that's crazy. Why? For me personally, I think that is the most uneducated, toxic, destructive thing that you can tell a young mother, which I was at the time. That's absolutely asinine. You don't deserve a break because you opened your legs for my son. Excuse me? How about you teach your son how to be a supportive man and, be helpful, you know? What? Yeah, mental health, self-care, and I feel like for it's important for women and men, both. So I'm not gonna make this about, just women, and it's not just about men, because I'm sure he's running around telling everyone he's a single parent, you know? Self-care is very much important for him. In fact, it's so important that he's been able to take multiple trips while his mother is watching our children. So that is the thing. Everybody should be able to prioritize their mental health. They should be able to prioritize self-care. It is absolutely important. So that whole logic is just insane. Research from the American Psychological Association shows that self care practices like mindfulness, exercise, and therapy can significantly reduce stress levels. Again, if you're not in a good headspace and you're not okay, your children will not be okay. I stopped going over to the marital house to spend time with my children because it was taxing on my mental health. The energy in there is very high strung. It is very destructive and toxic. And I notice a huge difference. There is far too much yelling. Matter of fact, he yells constantly, nonstop, and it teeters on emotional abuse. And it gives me PTSD and flashbacks every time I go over there. And I'm just going there to spend time with my children, but I'm I've been I don't like to put myself in environments or situations that are going to be detrimental to my well-being. And when I go over there, that is what I feel. So now I want to talk about the impact on children and why your energy matters. So your emotional well-being directly affects your children. I'm going to give you guys an example. And last time I was over there, which was, what was it? I think it was last month, for my daughter had a birthday party. And I was I had made a comment. My son, one of my twins, he was on his game, and I had made a comment, and he got offended. So, I saw that and I went in there to talk to him, and I'm like, "Hey, like, let's talk." And he's like, "Nope, I'm good." And I'm like, "What do you mean you're good? Like, I want to talk. Like, I want to understand why you feel like this." And he was like, "Nope, I don't talk about my feelings." And I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "No, I don't talk about my feelings." And it was just so cold and dismissive. It reminded me so much of his father, and, like, it hurt my heart because I'm just like, it's not a safe space, like, it's not. I think that, and again, this is not bashing because I understand that he's a product of his environment and his upbringing, but also in the same token, like, that is why mental health is a thing because your mental health impacts your energy and your energy transfers onto your children. So the way that you conduct yourself around your children and the energy that you exude, like they pick up on that. And it sculpts them, and it sculpts who they're going to be, like their person. Like it's hurtful. There was a study done by child development that found that children in high conflict co-parenting situations are 50% more likely to experience emotional and behavioral issues. And I'm going to let you guys sit with that for a second. So, one of the things that I've noticed as it pertains to the energy, when in fact my children do come over, I definitely notice a difference. The energy that they have, the way that we're able to interact and talk is so much different. I feel like it allows them a safe space without fear of being yelled at or scrutinized or belittled. And, I'm very, very new to gentle parenting. So this hasn't always been, the way that I've parented, with like calm and not yelling, but in fact, like speaking to them like they're people, because in fact they are. Um, I think it was just definitely like a change of environment that was necessary. So I want to talk to you guys about navigating conflict without losing yourself. So some strategies I like to use for staying calm and composed during disagreements: active listening, taking breaks, focusing on solutions. And if you're dealing with a um, narcissist, um, one of the best strategies, I don't know if it's the most helpful, but for me, to preserve my peace and my energy, I disengage. It is absolutely important to be able to disengage from the person, because what I have found is that there have been times where it seemed like he would try to use old tactics on me to trigger a reaction, just so he can get like a rise out of me to make him feel good. It's sick. It really is. And according to the Harvard Negotiation Project, using I statements instead of you statements can reduce defensiveness and improve communication. Now, what I will say is that works, but it doesn't always work. And it really depends on the level of narcissism that you're dealing with. Because I have personally found that even in using I statements, when a person is um, driven to misunderstand you and to war with you, that is what they're going to do. So it doesn't matter if you try to, see things from their side. It doesn't matter if you are trying to, resolution with them. It doesn't matter if they have it in their head that they want to war with you. Then that's what they're going to do. And at that point, I would just completely disengage and look for alternative routes to still be allowed to be invested in your children's life, without having to deal with them. And that brings me to the next point, which is building a support system. So it's really important when you're in a toxic codependent co-parenting situation. You want to make sure that you're leaning on friends, family, or support groups for co-parenting. A report by a single parent advocate found that 65% of single or co-parents felt more empowered when they had a stronger support network. For me, I have, my support system. Those are my friends. So these are people that I'm able to go and talk about certain things and see, because one thing about it is if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I don't mind being wrong, right? In fact, sometimes I want to be wrong so that I can learn how to better navigate a situation, right? And sometimes I find that the resolution that I am trying to get to, it's not going to come from the other parent. If anything, they might be working towards making situations worse. So in that case, I just disengage and go ahead and talk to my friends. And then I also want to talk about letting go. So it is very important to understand when it's time to release things and let it go, especially when you realize that you can't change it. And also understanding that if it's something that's above you that you can't control, like you might as well just let go and let God. Pro tip: practice acceptance and focus on creating a positive environment for your children, even if the co-parenting relationship is not perfect. So I just try to make things as positive as I possibly can within my power, right? So even if that means when I'm able to see them, I try to make the best of it for them. One thing that I will admit that I have to stop doing is, expressing my frustrations in front of my children. That is definitely one thing that I do that I definitely do need to stop doing, because I think that it causes an even bigger rift, and it pits the children in a situation or a mindset where they feel like they have to choose over parents, and I don't think that's fair. So, when should you seek professional help? So, when I would honestly say that when things are beyond, um, when you can no longer reconcile issues and they start to snowball into bigger issues, I would then start looking to getting some professional help, whether it is therapy, some sort of coaching, maybe getting the courts involved. That is always, I mean, with the courts, that is literally like, that is not my first go to. I feel as a Black woman, there's too much court interaction um, in our parental affairs, and sometimes it is necessary, but sometimes it's not. And I don't believe in making something bigger than it needs to be, right? If I can self-govern, then I can govern this, right? And that's not like my professional advice. That is just what the way that I look at it, but you do whatever works for you. So, the American Association for Marriage and Family Therapy reports that 75% of couples and co-parents who seek therapy experiences improve communication and reduced conflict. Now, again, I'm going to explicitly say this. This works for some people, and when we're talking about therapy, I feel like the other party has to be a willing participant. In my experience, the person that I have to co-parent with is not receptive to therapy. They are not receptive to the idea of being self-aware. And he thinks that he is self-aware, but his actions show something completely different. And this is just based on own my own observation from classes and certifications, all of my credentials that I've taken, and just observing his behavior. He's not receptive to it. And that's where it makes it more frustrating. It becomes more difficult because in that case, there is not too much that you can do with a person like that, right? Other than either wait until the children become of age, or just simply get the courts involved. And, when I do have the financial means to be able to do that, maybe that is an option that I will explore, because ain't nobody finna do this for another 10 years, honey. Uh, so let me ask you guys in the audience, have you ever felt drained by a co-parenting situation? If so, what helped you recharge? Please make sure you guys are leaving these things in the comment box, because you could be helping somebody else. Hell, you could even be helping me. What boundaries have you set with your co-parent, and how did it impact your relationship? And lastly, do you have a self-care routine that helps you stay balanced as a co-parent? Share your tips, guys. Okay, so as we wrap up today's episode, I want to leave you guys with this reminder. Protecting your energy and a co-parenting dynamic isn't just about surviving, it is about thriving. By setting boundaries, prioritizing self-care, and focusing on what truly matters, you're not only safeguarding your well-being, but you're also creating a healthier, happier environment for your children. Remember, you don't have to do it all alone. Lean on your support system, seek help when needed, and give yourself grace as you navigate through this journey. Co-parenting isn't always easy, but with the right tools and mindset, it can become a source of growth and resilience. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I hope you walk away feeling empowered to take small, intentional steps towards protecting your energy and finding peace in your co-parenting relationships. Also, make sure you guys click on my link in the bio, or you can go to truthtrustandtrajectory.com. I am having a sale on my coaching services for the month of February and March. And if you guys aren't quite sure that coaching is for you at this moment, what I want you to do is leave a comment in down below and comment coaching, and I'm going to gift you a free 30-minute coaching consultation just to see if it's a good fit. All right. If this episode resonated with you, guys, please share it with someone who might need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more conversations just like this. Until next time, take care of yourself. You deserve it. Okay, bye.